We're back to the Neil Haley Show, and I'm always excited to work with LegalSoft. They have, I thank you again, LegalSoft, for getting the opportunity to interview amazing attorneys that are building amazing practices. So I'm excited to welcome to the show Gabriela Smith from Gabriela and Smith Legal Counsel. Gabriela, thanks for stopping by. How are you?
Thank you, Neil. Thank you. I'm good. How are
and
you?
I was hearing in the back office, it's gonna be a little bit of a different interview because it just intrigues me. Tell me your story, how you were working in law in Philadelphia and how your journey brought you to Texas and how your firm is really different in a way compared to other law firms in the way you do things, and especially in the way it changes. But tell us a little bit of that story of working in Philadelphia and then coming and relocating to Dallas.
Sure. So I basically had your dream job in Philly as an attorney, came out of law school, top grades, landed a job at one of the top firms in Pennsylvania and got great experience. Worked there for about 4 years. And then my husband and I moved to Texas for his job. And I was pregnant. That's something I didn't mention to you before the show started. I was pregnant and I was showing by the time we moved to Texas. So I left a big job firm and, kind of testing the waters and seeing what do I want to do next. And I felt like, showing at the door at somebody and saying, hey, can you hire me? And I'm pregnant and I'm going to go, it was just not going to be a win game for anybody. So I researched around and really did some internal thinking in terms of who am I? Like, who am I? What do I bring to the table that sets me apart from basically thousands of the lawyers in Texas, Pennsylvania, and pretty much the whole country. So being originally from Argentina and having done all my schooling in the US, I realized that I had a dual knowledge of cultural and business issues, with my dad having been pretty much in business positions his whole life. I had like the Argentinian business side, the culture, and in general, Latin America upbringing. And then I researched, okay, what can I do with my Spanish language, my cultural knowledge? And I found out this like very niche and specific industry, which is the outsourcing industry. Outsourcing is when an American company hires a service of a foreign service provider. So I found out that the outsourcing industry with Latin America, back, this is 10 years ago when I started my firm, was huge, in the billions of dollars. Then I thought to myself, well, there's got to be a lawyer looking at those deals. You have service agreements, business formations, general business matters that come up. And I thought, I bet those Argentinian companies or Colombian or Chilean are needing an American lawyer to review their contracts, to represent them when they're contracting with an American business. So I literally started my firm from zero. I think I made, $12,000 my first year because I had no contacts, no clients. And I was fresh, from Philly, new baby. So I started the firm, did a lot of marketing, traveled to Latin America, met with the industry, told them I'm here. This is what I do, business lawyer in the US. When you guys have any business issues there, come talk to me. And, thankfully was able to grow the firm to a very successful firm. And the fun thing is that we are very small, but we actually handle very, very large deals because our clients, who many of them are very large companies from Latin America, some of them the top in the industry in their country, we land those clients because of the affinity that we have in the cultural language side. So we get to work on deals that usually you would see in a big firm, with 3 or 4 or 5 lawyers, handling the deal. We get to work on it, with our team and, with clients that you hear on the news. So really fun. So that's really my background.
And this is the challenge is again, of hiring overseas. And the reason is, especially if you're a small entity or a small business that decides I'm going to hire overseas talent, and then they don't feel protected, right? Because of you to go after and go out there, especially when we know overseas outsourcing, we're talking all over the place. It's the biggest business because it's to find people that are willing to work. When you're talking about inbound calling, you're talking about social media management, marketing, every type of VA, anything in the world.
It's
It's
right. And
yeah.
there's always a contract in between. And I think the example I was giving you earlier, like they do this. I'm just saying, let's put one of these big companies, they need, 200 developers to code something related to their applications or platforms. These, it's very attractive, to hire foreign developers. They're equally good. They are going to be cheaper than an American developer. That's the downside. But there's still a lot of work in America that stays. Usually business managers are here, some of the HQ people are here. So you hire those service providers, but usually these are very, very big contracts. If you're talking about I'm hiring, 500 people, 200 people to work, these are big, very thick contracts. So our focus is on representing the service provider with, the big company, whoever you want to name. And so, that's a lot of work. These are service agreements. Or later, hey, I want to buy you because you have those 500 workers pretty much ready, and I'm buying basically your house, where you house them, your systems. You basically do an HR acquisition and you acquire all those workers. So those are the types of transactions that we work.
Do you have any?
And when,
do you work, do you also work with, I was going to say, do you also work with ones that basically are worker that the company needs to bring them to the U.S. or they're opening up in a U.S. office? Have you had those situations?
So the answer is yes and no. We're not an immigration office, so we don't handle how to come and legally work in the U.S. There's business immigration lawyers that I know they're great. But we do help them. It's completely legal for a foreign person to come to U.S. and open an LLC, open a corporation, open a bank account, and start operating a business from the U.S., even if, they still need to go through the visa process. The visa process is done separate. As long as they're not working here and violating the immigration laws, they can certainly operate a business from abroad but do the paperwork here if they need to do that.
You really niche down in a way that you're totally looking at the way that the virtual business world is going.
Yeah.
Hiring, especially when you're talking about looking at specifically enough people that are looking for work, the population's there to work, they're excited to work, and now there's opportunity when it's hard to fill I guess the definition of work in the United States after COVID, the opportunities. So what would you say to a US based company that would want to hire you? What would the process? Are you helping in both ends when that happens?
Right. So yeah, that's a great question. So I mean, my niche is really that international cross-border practice. But of course, at the end of the day, what we do is what we do for any American company, right? Like we review the contracts, we create LLCs, we do M&A. So all the work that we do with a specific client that we work with, which is, the foreign client coming in, the work perfectly translates to representing an American company with only American operations doing business. We do have a very strong, I would say, subspecialty in everything dealing with technology, because the foreign practice is really creation of technology, so primarily software, right? So these people are coding all day. So we do work with clients who are in the U.S. who are tech clients too. Some of them have a product, a medical product, a hospital, electronic health system. We have clients like that. We have clients that manage, software applications, enterprise applications. So we have clients on both sides. But I always like to talk about, the international side is just such a unique practice for me. It comes naturally. And honestly, the client acquisition is, I would say, almost simpler than trying to acquire clients here, because of the cultural thing. Yeah, I think there's if I go to the American market and try to be in the mix of M&A lawyers, there's going to be 1,000 of them. But if I go to Argentina, I'm like, hey, I'm an M&A lawyer. When you want to sell your company there, I've already set the seeds and they know me. So
let's kind of talk more about how you acquire, or people that are watching all over the world, my show, especially, can find you internationally, find you on YouTube specifically with some of the words that are plugged in, especially putting up on my YouTube channel, you know, and also Legal Softs, they'll be all over the place. But the question is that want to hire you, especially internationally. But how do you go out and acquire them, first of all? What is the biggest way to go do that? Is it social? Yeah, go ahead.
So, you know, I'll say that up until last year, my practice has grown primarily organically. I was a very traditional word of mouth person. I am very selective with the clients because lawyers, we take a lot of responsibility and we can't make mistakes. We can't be like, oh yeah, that happened. You know, we get paid a lot of money to be able to pay attention to the important details that people who did not study law don't know about. So there's a parsing, if you will, of selecting clients that are, you know, have the sophistication that they need to work and understand the fluidity of how we work and the topics they want to work with, right? So that's one. So, but just to make the long story short, up until last year, clients would send us their friends, you know, hey, these friend needs this, can you help them? And it's been very organic. This year, we started working with social media. We got on Instagram, we got on YouTube. We've always been on LinkedIn, but we upped our game on LinkedIn, and then we upped our game on Facebook. And of course, we have a website, gnslawpllc.com. That's been there forever. And it's really it's kind of an experiment to see if this social media will work. Obviously everybody's on social media, but I don't know yet if my clients, the targets are looking at Instagram to find a lawyer. I know they're looking at LinkedIn, and I know YouTube is something they look at when when you want to find how to do this. I could picture people say, hey, how do you, what's an international agreement? What's a service agreement?
Yeah.
And I would
It's
love
great to have that
person.
stuff because then they're going to find it. So
Yeah,
how
exactly.
has Legal Softs help you set all that up? That's what it is.
So they are they handle all my social media. They're a social media provider. So they help me basically set up my accounts, and they help me create the content, and they help me put out videos. So we started with them a couple months ago. When I manage the firm, I have a couple other projects going as well. So I can't stop and become an influencer and make money off of that. So we're using it mostly to educate our clients. We want to give them, or potential clients, useful information. So, it's hard to create that content. It's hard because there's so many levels of knowledge. There's somebody who has no idea about the LLC, and then there's somebody that already has some kind of, business acumen. We're really, we want to work with clients that have that business acumen. It's just how it's been. We have a lot of information on our site for people who want to learn more about things.
Find information on you, go where?
Yeah, so it will all be on the website. It's gnslawpllc.com. Very soon, we'll probably be one of the most digital-oriented law firms in Texas, because we are going to make that access to creation of LLCs and some contracts. We're going to have some contracts where people can download, and the benefit is these are vetted. We vetted those contracts, and we're going to have content that teaches you what that clause means. So we're taking our time. We're investing in creating something that lawyers have already reviewed, and you just click buy and do your deal. So that is it's going to be a product that people who may not be able to afford our billable hour, right, they can afford a limited version of some of the projects that are pretty automated and that we can help them with.
No, this is great stuff. We appreciate it, Gabriela, and thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thank you.
You're listening and watching The Neil Haley Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.